Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this Growth Mindset, C Sharp Corner Growth Mindset show. If you are joining us first time, welcome to the show. If you are joining us back, welcome back to the show. I see a lot of people are joining. We already know. Thank you for joining us back from the US, from India, from Europe. Welcome back to the show. I see Deepak. Good morning. Atul. Good morning. This every Friday we do growth mindset show on C Sharp Corner, and the purpose of this show is very simple. And we want to talk about the things we have done or we can do in our career to grow us from taking from one step to other step. During the show, we bring some guests, and we talk about growth mindset. We talk about success. We talk about motivation. We talk about career, jobs, anything. So I highly encourage everybody to come chime in, post your comments. If you like show, you don't like show, what is your any feedback you have, anything how we can improve this show, so help you or help our audience, get benefit from this. End of the day, this show is for you. This show is for you, and if you feel like you will get more benefit by doing something different thing, just let us know. We are always looking for your feedback. um, Also, let your friends know, let everybody on your social media. Feel free to share this show so more and more people join and more people get benefit from it. uh, if you are somebody who is authority, who is experienced, who's senior person, who wants to come on the show as a guest, let us know as well. We are always looking for new guests with different opinions, different ideas. uh, and again, feel free to post your comments, questions about anything. It doesn't have to be growth mindset. It can be about your job, about career, about switching companies, anything you have on your mind. And then last thing we do is to make this show fun. We also do some prizes, some giveaways. We definitely look for people who are sharing on social media to pick a winner from that. Last week we launched a $50 gift certificate, and we also do some C Sharp corner goodies and stuff, including T-shirts. So again, welcome to the show. Feel free to chime in, post your comment. Let's enjoy the show. And today's topic is in this show is as time management. And time management is very important for any. If you look at any successful people, person in life, anybody you look at it, first thing they do is how to manage their time. And that's all we're going to talk about today. Is I'm going to share some 10 tips, and I'm going to invite our guest today, Ashish Dhar. Ashish is a good friend, enjoy part of the show as well. And then we'll go through these top 10 tips on time management. And then after we share the tip, we're going to talk about this and how we manage the time, how people should manage the time, how we were able to do ourselves. And then you can chime in if you have any comment on that, or you have done something better, how you manage your time. Let us know. Feel free to share in the comment box. Welcome again to the show. Let's invite our guest today, Ashish Dhar. Hey,
Hey,
Ashish, good morning.
good morning, Mahesh, and good morning, everyone, and good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. So great to be here.
How's everything there in New York? I believe you are in New York. I'm here in Philadelphia.
Yes, so New York, we are getting better from the COVID situation. As you know, we had a pretty big spike in the beginning. We were the epicenter of COVID in US. I think we have followed a lot of protocols, and that's a good thing about us here is that there is no enforcement. You have to do it on your own, and people use masks and people maintain social distancing. So we are, I would say, in the US now, we are probably the safest state when it comes to COVID. So from that standpoint, yeah, we're still working from home, but it's definitely getting better.
All right. So let's get started, Ashish. So welcome, Mega. Welcome, Bhaskar. Thank you for joining us from, I believe, in India. Welcome everybody to the show. Yeah. So as I said today, Ashish, our topic today is time management, right? And I want to take these, like I have these 10 tips, and I want to take one tip at a time, and then we are going to break it down and just see how,
Hmm.
obviously you have been in this IT industry for 23 some year, 20 to 23 years, and same with me. So we have learned so many things during our time, right?
Absolutely.
From the we came, we started career together. We started in the same company almost in the beginning of our career when we graduated from college. And over these years, I wish, last show you mentioned, I wish we had somebody guide us during that time,
Yes.
so we would have
Absolutely.
moved probably faster, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And also, I think, because of the when we were when we graduated, the internet was not a big thing at the time. I mean, we had barely internet was just we just had maybe an email is all we had people had, right? Because
Yeah.
with this latest in the last 10 years, the social media has come into play, and a lot of online video contents are possible. So the show that we are doing now, right, you're sitting in Philadelphia, I'm in New York, and folks from India calling in. This was not easy for a common person to pull off back in those days. So
Yeah.
because of the technology we have, I think this is very, very useful, and I hope everybody takes full advantage of this show that you're running every week. It's a great show.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and then again, I think you hopefully you'll be the permanent guest, and maybe we'll do together. That'll be good.
Definitely,
um
yeah.
all right, so welcome everybody. Let's start with the time management, and I'm gonna just throw some things out. It's a different show, right? We talk about different things, we talk about anything or everything on it, and we just share it. So chime in. So let's start with time, right? When we as people, and you have, I have done same thing, you do same thing, we most of us do same thing. When we look at our assets, every month we sit down, right, and say, oh, what is my salary, how much money I'm spending on my rent, how much I'm spending on my car, my EMI, and so on and so forth. So every, if not every month, every week, every day, sometimes we even have every day, we think about our finances. You agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I
So
think, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so most of us, we think about our finances, we think about our relationships, right? But how many of us really sit down and think about our time? Like how many of us really think that how much time I'm spending where? So what have done, personally, what I, what made me like a realize about time is that I think of time as a fixed salary, because time is something you cannot go and increase, right? Time is not something where, okay, after 2 years experience I'll get a raise.
Yeah,
Time is
yeah,
not
that's
something when if I'm 80 years old I'll get extra hours. All of us, every one of us, either as a child, either a CEO, either as Bill Gates, or doesn't matter who you are, we all have limited time in a day. So
I think
my
that's a
think your yeah, go ahead.
no, I think that's a very good way to put it. I think I never thought it that way, but I think you said it very well. That time is fixed, and it doesn't matter who you are, what your financial status is, what's your are you CEO, are you fresh out of college, you have same time. So that's a
Right.
very, very good point.
So I did a lot of research thinking about, like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm the CEO, right? For example, I'm a Microsoft CEO, Satya, right? You would think that he has so much running, like he probably out running out of the time. But if you look at his, like, he's available for different things, right? So
Yeah.
more and more success people, I start looking at it, look at Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and all that. They do find time to read books, they do time to give back to the community, they find time to do what they're passionate about. So there has to be some catch where, no matter who you are, there's always time, and it all comes to
Yeah.
time management. It all comes to how do you manage your time. And which means the best tip I can give everybody, and that's where I want you to chime in as well, what you think. The best tip I can give everybody here about time management is, think that you have 40, well, that's working out, forget working hours, you have 24 hours in a day. And out of that, you have to say, I have to sleep 7 to 8 hours. And that's very important, guys. Frankly, I was in India where everybody's telling me, oh, you should only sleep 5 6 hours, you're sleeping too much. That's
Oh,
probably the very bad. If you look at the physiology and all that, doctors recommend that if you want good health, you
yeah,
should be sleeping 7 to 8 hours, right? So 7 to 8 hours, you take it out and sleeping, and then family and all that. So you have this much time. So what you do in that time makes you an average person, a failed person, or a successful person.
yeah. I think that's true. I mean, one thing I'll add to it is that, as you said, time management. The way I sometimes see it is as, and first of all, as you said, sleep is very important, right? You have to give your body at least 8 to 10 hours. I would say 8 hours is pretty decent. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure all of us when we were in the college, I used to spend like sleep an hour or two, but I
yep,
could still function. But
yeah.
I think as I learn more and more about how body works, how mind works, you have to give yourself a lot of sleep. That's important. So leaving the sleep piece aside, because that's like it's a must have. But one thing that I will, maybe a couple of things I'll say. One is that when I got married and we were looking at the finances and so on. So one of the things that I heard from a lot of financial advisors is that you have to pay yourself first. So what it meant was when you get any money, whether you're getting a salary or you're making money as a business, make sure you allocate some money before you even spend it, before you even see the money. Make sure some money is set aside for your future, right? So I see the same thing as time. Look at your time and say, what time are you allocating to your own personal development, right? So sometimes, you say, I mean, I get this feeling every now and then, hey, I have no time. But when you go and start looking at how you spend your day, and many times there's a very well-known theory and well-known actually practice people do. They write down everything they do in the day, and then a week later they look at it and say, "What are the stuff that I did in the last one week which I did not have to do or I wasted time?" So there are ways and techniques to find those gaps in your or wasted time.
So that's exactly, you have a good point here, right? So writing down what you do in a day and every day, and if look at that and review like finances you would do. Look at
Exactly.
smart people who manage finances. They make their list every day or every month and every week where they're spending their money. And you can compare the same, that make a list of things and think, not just think like it just on in your mind. I would say write down, okay, you woke up this time, you did this time, you did the shower and you work, and then you did this. So then start looking at that list and say, where is the time I'm spending that's not helping you my growth, that's not adding into my growth. For example, if and I want to bring one more thing here is this is my tip number two. First, tip number one is basically think of starting as you have a limited number of hours in a day, right? You have limited time. It's a fixed cost. It's
Hmm.
not growing with your experience. It's not growing with
Yeah.
your status. It's not growing with anything. So first of all, start with that. I have very fixed number of hours in a day. Now, during that, number two is make your list that what did you do today, and then start evaluating that. Start evaluating like, in this 1 hour, I did this. I okay, 2 hours I spend on social media, Snapchat, Facebook, and all that. How what is that helping you? How is that helping you, your family, making you more money, getting better in your life, career, and making you happy? All those things combined.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, I would put it this way because I always think finances because I love finances. So it's almost like when you create a budget for yourself. Some people write budgets, right? I don't believe in
Yep.
budgets, but some people do budgeting.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you ought to really budget your time. You
Yes.
ought to see where are you spending time, and you know what other thing I'll tell you. A lot of people who are on the call or who are listening in, you don't have to share this that whatever you're going to write the log of that day or the week. You don't need to share with anyone. Keep it to
Right.
yourself. And
Yeah.
write down every single and be honest. Write down every single thing you did for a week, even if you just did for a day. You will be surprised how much time you have wasted.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. And then you don't even realize that, right?
you don't even realize that.
And that's where I want to bring one more topic here, right? So, in growth mindset, if you have joined us previously, we talked about the purpose of growth mindset is uh, if you're joining us new this time, I'll just spend a minute on that. Growth mindset is always, it's a mindset which is always thinking that how am I getting better? How am I growing?
Hmm.
How am I achieving my goal? So we all got to start with a goal, right? Goal in mind. Goal can be a your daily goal, your weekly goal, and then your can be end goal, right? For example, your end goal can be, oh, I want to start my own startup. That could be your goal, right? And then you got to have a big purpose in life. Purpose means what you want to be when you say 50, 60, 70 years old, when you retire, right? And that's where you need to move towards. So some say, you know what, I want to build my own company where, we will be doing this. Some will say, you know what, I want to become a project manager in company. Somebody say, I want to, write a book, or I want to, gain, become six pack, whatever your goal is. So once that goal is set up, then you have to look at your time and see how are you spending your time achieving that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to have a goal. I think it's a very, very good point. Have a purpose, right? I mean, I know some people, again, going back to the financial goal, right? So people say, I
Yeah,
want to save money, I want to save money. But to what? To what end, right? What are you trying
yeah,
to get? You can say, I want to retire happily. Okay, I want to retire early. Good. So similarly, when you have time, define a goal. What do you want to achieve? If you are writing a book, for example, right, which I think Mahesh, you have written some books. So
yeah,
book writing is not an easy, right? I wrote a book once and I
yeah,
never published it. You know,
yeah. So this is my first book, big one.
I know. So, I mean, I wrote a book, right? But I never published it.
Right,
And it was not
right.
obviously a technical book. It was my own personal experience, how I grew up in Kashmir and how everything happened there. And I wrote like big 800 pages almost. But I never got it
Yeah,
published. But I'm telling you that, if you are writing a book, I think that then you really, really appreciate time management, right?
yes,
Especially when you have a publication company who have a deadline. Right?
yep,
So my point is that if you have a goal, that will force you to look at your time management and what we just said, hey, look at your day and see where you're spending your day. That will help you to utilize that effectively, to say, hey, what do I do with this wasted time that I have? And
yeah.
I think you will be surprised how much time we all waste. I mean, absolutely. Even today also, I'll tell you, even though I feel I don't have any time, I'm sure if I go back and write down what I did yesterday, I think I can easily squeeze few hours where I waste time.
So that's what you said, is squeezing time, right? That's very important. Being like
Yeah.
a time, when it comes to time, we gotta be miser. We gotta be really conjuice if you are Hindi guys, because we need to figure out time is something is more valuable than money. Okay, I know we feel like money is the most important part, and depends on our life where we are. But if you look at that, money is something we can, there's people, you have seen examples where people have lot of make money, lost lot of money, right? And money, you can make it
Yeah,
again, you can work harder, right? You can get a better job, you can people work two jobs. But time is something where once it's spent, that's it.
yeah,
There's no way to buy it back. There's just never coming back. The today you are doing right now, at this day, this time, this how old you are, this is never coming back.
absolutely.
All right, so that's our tip number two. So let's recap these. So our first number is we gotta have priorities and goals, right? Because once you have that, and I like to add one of my tweet I created. I was reading Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was in, what country was he in? Uh,
Austria. I think he came from
Austria.
Austria. Yeah,
Yeah, he was in Austria. He was like a
yeah.
farm boy. He has no idea what to
Mhm.
do in life. And then one day he found this magazine where he saw world champion bodybuilder. And then he said, "This is what I want to become." And he said, once I did that, once I found my goal and purpose in life, then everything became very simpler. Everything became very easier, because all I had to do is one thing: achieve that goal. So after that, he said, everything I did is toward that goal. So until we find that goal, we are lost. So everybody who's listening, watching the show, welcome to the show again. Go back, ask yourself, look inside your soul. And answer may not be today, may not be tomorrow. It may take you a month to figure it out and a year to figure it out. but ask yourself, what do I want to do in my life? Who do I
Mhm.
want to become? So
Yeah.
let's look at our third. I'm going to put our, I think these, we covered three tips. And fourth tips is I want to talk about social media. Okay.
Yes.
Because that's, that's very important topic. And I want to kind of put this in a perspective. Okay. So imagine, imagine you go to a bank. Okay. Let's say you go to a bank every day. You go to a bank, you want to, look at your finances, put some money, take some money out. But every time you visit a bank, imagine bank takes some money away from you every time you visit a bank. And imagine you visit bank like 10 times a day. Soon you will realize you have no money left in your bank account. What do you think, is a good idea or is it a bad idea? This
Yeah.
is what exactly social media does to us. Okay, this is what all these Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all that they do to us. Every time you visit them, they steal your time. In the time you will never get it back. And I'm not talking about social media people are using for work, people are using for marketing, people are using for job. That's different. I'm talking about people visiting social media for their own pleasure, like just to visit around because they're bored in life, just to because they're sitting around. So let's spend a little, what do you think on, let's spend
Yeah.
a few minutes
No,
on that.
I think you are absolutely right. I mean, I think one of the greatest thing that happened to the technology world is iPhone, right?
Yeah.
And probably that was the worst thing that happened to most of a lot of people,
Yep.
because you now carry your entire computer in your pocket, right? I mean, in back in those early days, we if you had to go and check an email, you had to go in front of a laptop or a desktop and then open and log in and dial up the AOL or whatever service you had and wait for the 56 kb modem to bring, and then you will connect. Now you have this iPhone or whatever phone you use, you have a smartphone. You're carrying a computer with you. And I'll maybe a little bit of a deviation from the topic, maybe a detour. When iPhone came out, and I remember I bought like iPhone 3 or something. I still have that one. So they did some survey because people are addicted to iPhones. They did a survey and they found that, hey, why are people so addicted to iPhones? Now, like Apple used this as a marketing strategy, but what they found, and I think it was Harvard or MIT, one of those guys did some research and then they did some physical, they ran the experiment on people's brains as they were using the phone. So what they found is that they found two things. One is they found one group of people the kind of relationship they had with the phone or the social media is akin to addiction. You're addicted. Like you have an addiction to something. So that's one thing. The second thing, which was more scary, was the same chemicals were in the brain that you have when you were in love.
Yeah.
So what my point is that the social media, which is obviously this iPhone and smartphones kind of enable that even more, are as sort of an addiction. And then you have to break that addiction because, as you said, a lot of people who go on the social media, you can use social media to your advantage by, if you're doing a business there or if you're doing some other ads and so on. So there's a business people have. But a lot of people who are not running the business on social media, we who are going to social media just to browse, I think we're helping them become rich and making ourselves poor. I think again another good analogy you gave, hey, going to bank and they're taking money from you, exactly what you're doing. And I think
So
social media has to be
yeah.
managed pretty well.
So to add that, yes. So even the founder of Facebook has said that when they were designing the product in the beginning, they were doing the research. How do you make people addicted?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. The dopamine, we create dopamine is a chemical in the brain. It's you get the same dopamine, same chemical reaction in the brain. What you get from when you are in love, you get from gambling, you get from uh, drugs. Like if you are taking a heroin, it's exactly the same effect on brain when you are on social media, and that is why we are
Yeah.
addicted to social media. um, and I want to add to, we have more topics to cover as well. I just want to throw these, one topic we may just do one on social media in this show, just like, but go back to our first question and first point is that When you are on social media, there's nothing wrong with social media, to connect with your friends, to share photos, to share your memories. That's great. But some point when you're done with the day, you need to realize and think again, go back to your list. You spend 1 hour, 2 hours. Average person in US spend 3+ hours on social media. So look at those 3 hours, like how those 3 hours have contributed to your growth, to your goal, to your purpose. And once we start thinking about that, then we will slowly figuring it out that yes, this is not a good thing for us.
So,
Um,
Mike,
yeah.
other thing I'll also mention, just as we're talking social media, right? We have a LinkedIn, which I don't call social media. It's like a professional network. But I
Yep.
want to tell everyone who is listening and watching, please do not use LinkedIn like Facebook. Don't put
Yes.
your don't put stuff there which is not professionally related. I have seen people put stuff. I said, why are they having this? What is this in LinkedIn? You don't want to make LinkedIn like a Facebook. So other thing I'll tell you is because if you're on a LinkedIn like that, you have a lot of people who could be your prospective clients or who could be your employers. They watch LinkedIn. So be very, very, very careful on the LinkedIn. Don't use LinkedIn as a Facebook. Don't put some, political commentary there. Don't make LinkedIn professional and just for your career. Don't convert
So
LinkedIn to Facebook.
that's a good point, right? So I know this, we can go on LinkedIn just all day. So
Yes.
we're gonna have another show on a LinkedIn, but definitely I agree with you that LinkedIn is not your typical social media. It's more like a professional network.
Yeah.
So think of this way: whatever you will do at job, that's what you should be doing on LinkedIn. You should not be posting your dogs and cats. You should not be posting your
Yes.
jokes. Every time somebody's in my network and they post a joke, I just remove them from my connection. That's what I did because they're wasting my time and I just don't have time. That's how I evaluate my time.
Yeah.
That's
No, I
great.
think.
So let's, yeah, go
No,
ahead.
I just wanted. Maybe we'll talk about at some point. I know it's a big thing in India. This WhatsApp. So that's another. I have to be honest. I am in some groups from my school days. The WhatsApp. That's another waste of time.
So
All the
that what
joking
we will
forward.
do is we will have a one show just
Yeah.
on social media.
Social media. I think we
So
need a show on
whole
social
hour
media.
we will talk about
Yes.
impact of social media, what is good, what is bad, how people are using, get their feedback. Yeah,
But that impacts your time, right? So that's the
it
point. And
does.
the thing is that time is essence, and you are wasting time on social media. And not to
That's
go too deep on social media, but that's the point here.
correct. That's important because that's where we are.
Yeah.
Whatever our personal time is, the way that's where we are spending on social media, and our human brain, the way our human brain and mind works is really humans are motivated by two things and two things only. One is pleasure, other one is fear. So if you think like how do you get people motivated, you need to figure one of those out. Either you scare them, they will do something, or they need to feel like there's a pleasure in it and they'll do something. So whole life is all around these two things. And pleasure we get from drugs and the dopamine we have in our chemical in our brain is from social media. Now you say, okay, so if I'm happy more on social media, and again we're going to go back, social media is a big topic where we can spend all day on
Yeah,
that.
well, we need to move on from social media, but they got
So
the
for
point.
today, excuse me, today we should stop the social media and just,
Yes.
I want you just guide to focus and think about how much time you are spending, and is it adding to your growth, is it adding to your goal, and then we'll stop right here.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
take a
move on.
break. Simon, we're going to take a quick break here, 1 minute break, and we'll be back. Talk about more topics. We're going to talk about some of the prizes, some of the giveaways. Everybody, welcome to the show. Simon, we're going to take a 1 minute break now.
Perfectly makes sense. we are back.
All right, we are back to the show. Welcome everybody again. This is a growth mindset. So my name is Mahesh Chand. I have a guest here, Ashish Dar. We are talking about growth mindset and time management. How do we manage our time to achieve the goals what we want to be in our lives? Welcome. I see Dr. Taneja. Welcome to the show. Amar Pal, welcome. Good to see you, Amar, here again. Naveen, welcome back to the show. Congratulations. Last week you win our prize. And then everybody, welcome Ayushi to the show. Keep those comments coming, guys. Keep those comments coming. How, if you're learning anything from the show, let everybody know. If you have any comments on the show, let us know. If you have any feedback, we need to improve, or anything any topic you want to cover in future shows, just let us know. So welcome back again. Just quick recap. We talk about purpose. We talk about social media. We talk about make a to-do list and review your time. Look at the time where you're spending. Uh, definitely pay attention where you're spending time. So continue with that show. I'm gonna Simon, if you have a time, we need to announce at least one winner soon. So can you please get ready? And then you can jump in the show and announce the winner. So, Ashish, now I want to talk about a few things, and from our experience, what we learn is that in our family, in our friend circle, in our workplaces, there are always
Hmm.
some of these guys where they love to gossip, and they will
Yes.
waste your time.
Yes.
Okay, and not even sometimes you want to get away from them, but because you work with them, because you're friend with them, they're calling you, you still have to listen to them. And so let's spend some time and what do you think and how should we fix that part, and I have my own way to improve on that.
Yeah. So that's a difficult one, right? I mean, we all have friends and relatives who fit that profile, right? So that's a tough one. But I will tell you that I mean, I would, I mean, it's a very sensitive topic, right? Some friend calls you and you know he's going to waste your 1 hour. I mean, I remember I had this long time back. There was a person who I knew from work. So every night, I think around 7:30 to 8, he'll call me, and we'll just have a gossip for an hour. And I would not even want to get. I mean, there was not even a pause in his talk where you can say, "Okay, bye." No, he was non-stop talking. I mean, I'll tell you what I had to do, and this is not two instances. And this is not even. I mean, this is real. So I would. And back in those days, we used to have real phones, right? Not this. We had cell phone, but it was not very common. It was still the regular, like landline. So I would unplug my landline after 7:30, so he won't call me. And that's what I had to really do. So, and then he used to work at my work, and next morning he'll tell me, "Hey, I called you last night. How come you're not picking the phone?" And I'll say, "Oh, my phone had some problem." And he would not even get a hint, right? For a week he would call me, and every day he'll tell me, "Hey, I called you last night again. What happened? What happened?" I think after a few weeks he got a hint. Now I know it's extreme, and I felt bad, to be honest. I felt very bad, because you don't want people to feel, hey, you don't want to. I know we are all human, right? We all want to be friends and socially likable and so on, but sometimes it gets too much. It's too much. And I had another friend. I'll tell you another good story now. And I used to work in Philadelphia back then. So he would call me, and he was this is funny and it's interesting, and it also tells you about similar to what you said. So he used to work for a company, and he would be working on a project, and he needed help. So he would immediately call me, say, "Ashish, how do you add this to combo box?" Okay, then I'll tell him this what you do. 3 months later again, "How do you do this on the button?" Like he was like, now we people have Google, they go to Google and they search. So I was his Google back then. So anything, anything he would call me at work and say, "How do you do this?" Every 10 minutes. So again at work, I had to unplug my phone. So okay, so how do you deal with this? I mean, I don't have a good answer to that question, to be honest. I think you have to. It depends on how you are as a person. I mean, how much can you push? I'm very bad at it. I don't know how to say no to people when people like that call me. I would not be the right person to advise you, because I struggle with that. I mean, I do struggle with this a lot. I mean, I unplugged my phone a couple of times, but now you cannot even do that with your cell phone. So I struggle with that. That's a tough one. Right? Maybe you
Yeah,
have
and
better tips on that.
well, yeah. So yes and no, right? There's some people obviously we cannot avoid, right? Some are our family friends or our families, cousins. brothers, sisters, whatever, they talk. But at end of the day, and I know it's hard, but you kind of have to explain guy, other person, even it's your, doesn't matter if it's your close friend, say, hey, I love you, we're best friend, but let me get this work done because I have certain things to do. Again, it goes back to your goals. If you have a goal and you set aside these 2 hours for doing, let's say, learning something new, let's say learning machine learning or writing an article or doing something on your own, at that time what I do is, what worked for me is, during certain time I don't carry phone with me. And there are times where I don't even care if somebody's calling me, because it's nobody's important calls me. I know somebody's calling me, that's fine. But what I do is, I like I do purposely in my office I don't have a phone charger. Okay, like this is my office, it's a lot of room, lot of but I don't have phone charger. We only have phone charger in the kitchen. So I'll just go when my phone dies, I just go put my phone there for an hour or two. And then when I'm watching TV, obviously I watch movies. When you're taking break, I just don't have my phone with me. So point I'm here is that everybody has to find their own ways, but evaluate that in your life. And when you make that list, that okay, I spend 1 hour talking to this guy, has that conversation contributed into something useful? Okay. Other thing you could do is, which I do sometimes, that if somebody's calling me, I talk to them about certain things which I know they have no interest in. So then they're like, okay, I gotta go. So
Yeah.
they're telling me their story. They're like, you know what? Oh, I wrote today article on this C sharp, and they're not programmers, so they don't get it. So they leave. So the point here is that at some point also you have to figure out the right way to tell them. But look at that, who is really a I was watching a show on YouTube. It says somebody, one person called them a blood sucking vampire. They suck all time out of you and energy out of you. So those are the people you definitely want to stay away from, because not only they will frustrate you by telling these nonsense stories which has nothing to do with you or him. Like sometimes you'll talk about the neighbors. Okay. And I'll tell you a story here, right? One guy in one of the neighborhoods one time, and it's funny, it's just in fun, he just said, Mace, I don't think I like you too much. That's what he said. And we're like, okay, well, let's give him a name, Bob, right? Like, okay, Bob. So I clearly just asked him, right? Okay, Bob, you don't like me. Okay. Do you pay my bills? Like, no. Do you mow my grass? Like, no. Do you feed my children? Like, no. Do you help me at work? He said, no. Like, why do I care if you like me or not? It's not my problem.
Yeah.
It's your problem. It's like, imagine, and I'm being a farmer, I go back to those analogy. Imagine I have a farm, I have a land, and rather than mowing my or fixing my own grass, mowing my own land, putting seed in my own, I go in some neighbor's house, neighbor's land, and put seeds there. How's that is going to help me? Like,
Yeah.
who is stupid here? Like, you are spending your time and your brain thinking about me, like how good and how bad am I? Why that's like, this does not make sense to me. So
So, Mahesh, I
think,
think
yeah,
to your point, I would say if I was to summarize what we discussed in this tip, I think the key to me is that learn how to say no.
yeah, that's
Right?
very
Say
important.
no to
Yep.
gossip. Say no to all this distraction you get. I know it takes time, right? Say be polite. I mean, you don't. I mean, one thing I do at work many times is I will be in the middle of something and somebody knock on the door and say, "Oh, do you have a minute?" And at one point, I should always say yes, but then I know it just will waste time. I now learn to say no. I don't. I'm busy right now. So
Yeah,
learn how to say no. That what you guys have to remember. It will be hard, right? To practice it. Say it one
yeah,
time, second time, third time it will be easy. Just say no. I'm busy, right? Just say no.
yep,
Learn how to
yep.
say no.
All right. So that's great. Definitely learn how to say. Let's take a question now. I think we have some questions coming up from people. Everybody, welcome to the show. Let's take a question. Simon, you want to put a question up here? All right. We have a question from Munish Kumar. Welcome to the show, Munish. I have more than 8 years experience now in .NET project management, but I don't want to stick to .NET C Sharp anymore. Now I'm interested in machine learning and DL. Could you please let me know how should I start?
And this is a very good question. I hear this question from a lot of folks that, right, machine learning and deep learning and AI is a pretty big topic. And Mahesh, you and me talked about and how I am very passionate about machine learning.
Yeah.
And actually, we are thinking of maybe creating some sort of a course for folks like you, Manish, that where we could walk you through how to go from wherever you are, whether you're a .NET developer or you are maybe Java developer or whatever you are. How do you transition yourself step by step to a machine learning, deep learning expert? I think that takes time, right? So I think we were, Mahesh, and maybe you and you can chime in too. We were thinking about creating something like that for the folks like you, Manish, to help you to advance your career, because that's where the future is machine learning, data management, and so on.
Yeah, and you
So
don't need to really leave .NET for that,
yeah,
Sharp for that. You can do machine learning using .NET too. Like if you go to
absolutely,
Azure, you can build most of the things.
yeah.
You always want to use your existing skills, right? Imagine you are like a boxer, and and you want to become a basketball player. You still want to use whatever you learned in that previous. So make sure in machine learning you don't need to really start from scratch. You can figure out, okay, maybe you want to do Azure machine learning. Azure machine learning is all C sharp and .NET. So think of this way. And it's a learning. So
Yeah.
um, that's where I'll end this one for now here. So let's go back to next topic. We'll take one more question here from Nancy. Welcome, Nancy, to show. Welcome back. I know you coming almost every show. Um, how to ensure that we are committed to our schedule and maintain consistency. How to sort priorities while scheduling, and how to be perfectionist in managing time efficiency. So this is show. This is question is related to show what we're talking about.
So
You go ahead and yeah.
yeah, I was going to say this, and I said thank you, Nancy, for a very, very good question. And I will tell you that a few years back, I read a book which I recommend everyone who's listening and watching the show should read that book. I think you can probably find in the internet even a PDF file of that. The book name is Eat That Frog. Okay, that's the name of the book.
I'm a vegetarian. Okay.
Okay, so that's the name of the book, Eat That Frog, and it's an author by the name Brian Tracy. So I would say, this is a very, very relevant to what we're discussing today, time management. Okay, so you can read the book, and I know I will not steal the thunder from the book, but I'll give one tip from the book, which I think which answers your question, Nancy. What it says is that I'll simplify this, right? So whatever you have to do, sometimes you want to do something. You say, I gotta go. Let's say I have to go and buy something, right? Or I have to go and invest in some mutual fund, or I have to go read this book, and you push it out. You say, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. So what this guy says, hey, whatever you want to do, start doing it today. Don't think about, oh, I'll do it next week. I'll do it 3 days from now. Prioritize what let's say you have 10 things to do. Write it down. Say, what is the most important I need to do, and just do it right now. Don't say, oh, I'll do it in the evening, right? Don't say, oh, after my dinner I'll start doing that. Start doing that now. You may not finish it. You may just do 1/10 of that thing, but the fact you start it will give you a lot of push to finish it. So read that book, Eat That Frog. Everyone on this call must read that book. That will
Or
change your perspective. No, don't
or
read the
you can
frog, but read the book.
yeah. Or you can listen to Sant Kabir who said, "Kal kare so aaj kare so ab,
Exactly.
pal
So
mein pad
that's
le hoy
another way
bhi
to
bahut
put it.
kabe." The point of that slok is same thing.
Yeah.
It's exactly same thing that there's no more. If you want to do something, you got to do it right now. Start now. Even it's slow, even it's
Do it now.
bad. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
So back to your point, what the questions he asked is how to become perfectionist. This is just a discipline, and perfection comes over time, and consistency comes over time. As long as slowly you start doing it, and then eventually your brain will learn your habits. That's how brain works. Brain is very stubborn in the beginning, okay, and it's lazy too. Keep in mind, our brain is the laziest person ever. If you make him as a person, because it will always tell you not to do hard work, because and it worked. That's how humans, that's how we became human, and we survive and we rule the world. When it comes to brain, our brain grew more than any other species ever we know, at least on this planet earth. Why? Because brain is also our intelligence grew, because it thinks about protecting self in your body. right?
Yeah.
And anything, anytime you want to do hard work, it'll say no. It will say no. So that you have to tell your brain
And
that,
Mahesh,
hey, yeah,
you brought up this
go ahead.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's example, and one thing I'll tell you that I mean I don't because of COVID situation with gym is not something I do a lot now. But imagine when you go to gym like fitness center and you are trying to lift the weights. I think first day you can lift maybe 10 pounds. Next day you will be able 10 pounds will look okay a couple of days from that point onwards. Then you'll go to 20 pounds, 30 pounds. But slowly you will build enough strength to lift 100 pounds also. The point is you got to start slow. Very first day you go to gym, you want to lift 100 pounds, you will throw your back out and you will give
Yep,
up. Start
agree.
slow and incrementally improve it. I think as Mahesh said, as you keep doing this over the time, and perfectionism is not the goal. I also want to say this that you will don't chase perfectionism, right? Do what you can, but do it slow. Increment, push your brain every so often. Go next level, go next step, and then you'll get there. So start slow. Don't think you need to. If you watch, let's say you're having social media, you spend 1 hour. Cut it down by half an hour. Say I'm going to stop half an hour later. I'm going to stop. Next day you'll cut it down by another 5 minutes. So slowly you will get out of this addiction. So start slow and increment.
Yeah, and good thing is when you start making the changes to yourself, you will see that your surroundings are also impacting with it. What does that mean
Absolutely.
is once people start seeing that you're busy, then they will stop bothering you actually. Your friends, your
Yeah.
families, parents, they will know, okay, you are working, okay, you're focusing. They will actually also learn from you. So not only you
Mhm.
will help yourself, you will also help others, right? And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Every time I do, let's say, I'm watching TV doing, sit-ups or whatever, my 2 3 years old, she start doing same thing. So
Yes.
it's a kind of, it grows from this like a ripple effect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you said it well, you said it right. You start right now. There's no time tomorrow. I'm not saying don't leave our show, okay? This is important to stay here, okay? Definitely don't leave our
Right,
show.
right, right after the show, right after the show ends, start your first thing that you have been putting aside for a while.
There you
Just
go.
do this first
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. So let those guys, let those questions coming, because questions and comments are very important, also for us. Keep in mind, anybody who's hosting the show, who's a conference speaker, who's a writer, what comments do is that it feels us like that people are actually listening, and we are basically we are doing our job, right? If nobody replies and posts comments, we feel like, are we really being more effective, or we just wasting our time? So any comments, let those comments coming, let the questions coming. Anything you have to share, contribute, feel free to share your tips, because again, it's an open forum here. All right, that was interesting. That was good. So let's back to our next tip here on time management. Um, One thing, time management, I found personally, most of us are in IT. We have emails, we have text messages, we have the chats, we have meetings, right? And sometimes we feel like, oh, there's too many meetings, I'm wasting my time in these meetings, and I'm checking emails all day. So what I found is, unless you need something, work needs real time, what I found useful from my personal tips is grouping tasks.
Yes.
So I don't keep my emails open all the time. I'll open them, 2 3 4 times a day, and then I'll check all the emails and reply all once, rather than every just switching back from my work, right?
Absolutely.
Same
Yeah.
thing with my even meetings. Not everybody can schedule their own meetings, but if you are able to schedule your own meeting, what I do is I schedule my meetings the time when I know I'm not going to work that time. For example, afternoon after lunch, I'm not going to be productive, and maybe I'll be sleeping and taking a nap. So I like, okay, let's schedule the meeting that time so I can talking and keep drinking my tea and whatever I want. So your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's important. But one thing I will say also is that if you're in a meeting, right, just be there 100%. Right? I mean, that's one advice I'll give you. I know this is very, maybe not completely like time management, but that also kind of impacts your time. So if you are in a meeting and you have to be there, right? Be 100% there, so you don't need to. Let's say you go to a meeting. I don't know whether you are a developer, or let's say a developer is a team meeting and you go there, you don't pay attention, and then later on you will not know what was discussed, and you will waste your time, somebody else's time, to find out what happened. When you are in a meeting, Be 100% there, right? So what I mean, I tell my kids all the time, but they don't listen. I say, hey, whatever you do, do it with your 100. If you are playing, play 100%. If you are focus on work 100%. So that is part of the time management too. Whatever you're doing, do it with your full attention and full mindset. Don't just sit in the meeting and think about, oh, when I will go out of this meeting, when I can have watch that show, right? Be in a meeting, be 100% there, and you will find out that that will save you time again because you don't have to think after the meeting. Oh, I wonder what was I supposed to do? Oh, what did they say there? So be whatever you're doing, you're right on the show. Be 100% engaged in the show. Don't look at the show and also be on your text messages. Don't do that. Just be 100% on one thing. So I think all these things add up, right? So they may all sound like, okay, how will that help me in the time management? But advice I would give everybody is that practice this for a week and see the results. If you do everything we have been talking here, you will definitely see results in a week. Then you will be surprised how much time you're saving. And then you can use that time effectively, learn machine learning. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
So one other thing sometimes is I want to add that too is sometimes you may not be focused. Say you want to learn something and your brain is not focused, right? There's two things you can do. You don't need to force. Sometimes you have to force, but there's time like you want to, understand something. So what I found as a tip, and a lot of us do, is that start writing, start taking notes, right?
Hmm.
And my
Yeah.
son, and I'm again comparing with my son, he was reading something, and he's like keep forgetting. I'm like, okay, I gave him a whiteboard. Like every time you do any study, just go on whiteboard. Whatever you just learned, write it there. So you have to find that one thing that makes sure, sometimes let's say you are in a meeting, and again, you can focus there. Start writing notes.
Yeah.
So good point. Good point. Let's take some questions. Looks like we have questions coming from Deepak, Munish, Monica. Welcome, Monica, to the show. Everybody, welcome to the show. Let's take some questions here. The question from Monica is sometimes we lose touch with our work, which demotivates us, and we get reluctant to go back to it. So, how do you kickstart it all over again?
Okay, I think if I'm understanding this correctly, you're saying sometimes you are out of the work or
Yeah, looks like there's no
yeah,
continuity to the work, right?
continue work. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, this is a good question, and many times, I mean, especially in this times where people are losing jobs and they then maybe after some time they go back to work, and I think again it comes back to your motivation, your goal, right? That's what it all boils down to. So ask yourself a question: when you're going back to work, what is driving you to go back to work? It could be financial reason. It could be, hey, I'm getting bored, or whatever the reason could be, and focus on the reason and try to articulate the reason better to yourself first. I think that will get you at least started with re-engaging at the work because you are going to back to work for a reason. So just define again back to what we said earlier. Define the purpose. What is the purpose of? It could be simple purpose. Hey, I need to earn more money, right? I need to pay off my mortgage or whatever it is. Define the goal clearly and then use that goal as a driving factor to start with the work. But once you get in the work, that those anxieties will go over very soon. That I can assure you that. Once you get back to work after a week or so, you will get over those anxieties. It's just the initial anxiety you may have. So that's all I can say about that question.
But that's definitely good.
Monica.
Yeah. And again, this is normal. We all get demotivated from time to
Yeah,
time. That's how we are. Human, sometimes we're excited, sometimes we are not. The people who are successful in life is where they are falling down and they get back and they start again. And they
yeah,
fall again, they get back, get started again. Look at the history of every successful people you will see. Start with Steve Jobs, right? Start with Abraham Lincoln, start with Michael Jordan. You look at all these guys, they failed many times in their lives and eventually they just keep doing it.
yeah. And sometimes a failure could be a good thing, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's a
know
learning.
I remember one of my friends. He used to work in a company for a long time, and he wanted to start his own business. He couldn't. Eventually, the company had to shut down because of financial reasons. He had no choice. He started his business, and he's a very successful businessman now. So
Yeah,
that he right. So that every sometimes failure could be the start of a new growth for you. So look
yeah.
at everything else from that angle.
All right, let's take another question from Deepak. It's a good question. And I this is my favorite topic is actually is the motivation and inspiration, right? And that's where really we are here, is that C sharp corner is show is also about motivation, inspiration, how to bring motivation to people's life. Because the way we work, sometimes things are up, things are down, especially when things are down. How do you motivate yourself, and how do you again inspire yourself to get back to work? It's kind of continuation of the previous question.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a, I would say, to be honest, I mean, this show that we're doing here, and we'll probably come with more topics in the future. This is definitely a place where you can, and you can hear right from this show also, all the questions you hear, that you're not alone, right? A lot of people have the similar questions. So the best way to keep yourself motivated is to keep looking at the goal. Don't give up on the goal. Don't feel that, okay, I failed, that means I'm going to be failed for the rest of my life. Because as I gave you an example, the friend who left that who company shut down, he became a very successful businessman. And Mahesh mentioned a lot of successful people become successful only after they fail, right? So motivation to me is something that you got to keep engaging with the right people. Be always in touch with positive people, right? So don't become part of the negativity, right? That can sometimes bring you down. So try to understand people who are generally positive, who share similar principles or similar uh, thinking as you. I mean, this show like this where you can come in and ask questions. So build a good network of people who can also help you during those times, and also always keep your own goal in the mind. What motivates you? You must also write down what are the things that are getting you out of the bed every day, and try to find those things in you and to push you forward. And don't. My other advice will be, do not think too much about future and failure, because that will demotivate you. Think of, when you are down. The best advice I can give you: think in the moment and say, what do I need to do to move to the next step? Don't think what will happen if I don't. This doesn't work or that isn't. Don't do all those permutations and combinations right there. Just focus on the current, get to the next step, and it will eventually work out. So that's what I would advise.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good question, Deepak. Again, we are going to continue to bring more full session just on motivation, right? How do you motivate yourself in different situations? But one point here is very important: is you gotta have a group of friends who are kind of also helping you, motivating you, because sometimes
Uh,
you need the validation. We all need the validation, right, in our lives, unless somebody's really mature and somebody's done on, have a lot of experience. For we definitely need that kind of validation, that hey, am I doing the right thing? Is why it's not working? Somebody say,
yeah.
so having that positive mindset, people stay away from negative mindset people, is very important. uh you
And,
know
and find the support structure, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to say, is that support structure, right? Who are the people that you believe you can trust, who can talk to? And this forum you have, I mean, this is definitely, hopefully, we're going to continue this thing. But also find a local support structure. It could be your family also. It could be your friend, it could be your brother, sister, mom, dad, whoever it is, right? Find some support structure to get you through. And then talk about your fears also with someone who you're close to, because sometimes just talking about a problem can also help you to get it out of your system. So talk about the concerns that you have and bring it out.
yeah, that's valid, very
And
valid point. All right, so let's get back to our time management. So we covered, looks like, a lot of topics today in this show. We talked about how to manage our time in social media and so on and so forth. Our goal really is to bring this show every Friday 10 a.m. So guys, we want you to come back, everybody to come back, and enjoy the show, bring the topics, ask questions, so on and so forth. Now it is time to get some, announce some prizes, have some exciting news. Simon, you want to just jump in here and then
Yeah,
come to the
this time
stream?
you want me to? Okay, this time it was on your. Let me come. All right. So we have a winner for today, and I think it's gonna be Nancy, who she's very consistent on live shows. Congratulations, Nancy! You win a $50 Amazon gift card.
no,
All
congratulations,
right.
Nancy. Great
Congratulations,
job.
Nancy. And then
Oh,
I think you're also giving away some t-shirts, C Sharp Corner goodies.
Yeah, definitely we are giving away for I have for Twitter. I mean, for the t-shirts we have. All right. Okay. Let me see. Let's say go for Rupesh Kahane. He's from Pune. So Rupesh, you get a T-shirt for that. and a lot more we will find out. I think that's all I could get it from the Twitter.
All right, guys. So I think we had a pretty good number of people attend this. I think
Yeah,
thank you so much all for that. Again, this show is focused around growth mindset and why. Think about why anything you're doing in your life, make
Yes.
sure to reset your goal in life, right? And purpose. What is purpose? And goal is very important. Sometimes, if you're a young person, you may not know what your goal is, right? So you set smaller goals like weekly goals and monthly goals and annual goals, right? You can say this year I have to get a better job, right? This year. So then evaluate anything and everything you're doing every minute and every moment of your time, that how are you moving towards your goal.
Absolutely. So, and I think this is great, and everybody engaging very well. I think we covered a lot of topics, but this is hopefully you will take. Hopefully, you all learn something from this, and you'll apply that to your life immediately after this show. And hopefully, next time we are back, you can give us some of the feedback. How did it work out for you? So that would be
Yeah,
great.
so that's well said. So if you guys you joined in the past or you just joined, this is your first show today. If you come back to next show and let us know if you have changed anything, if we have helped anybody in different ways, have you start thinking a little bit different, and within a week you have, because having that feedback is also validation to
Yes.
us that we are on the right path.
Yeah.
Because remember, we don't want to waste our time either if nobody's learning
Yes.
from this show, because we
Yes.
are evaluating our time now.
Yeah. And maybe
All right.
other yeah, okay. I mean, I was going to say, are there other topics you would like to talk about? So let us know. So we'll bring those things.
All right. All right, sir. Thank you
Okay.
all. Enjoy the
Thank
weekend.
you.
We'll see you again next Friday, 10 a.m.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.